March. The month where legends are made and dreams are crushed. The buzzer beaters, the Cinderellas, the heartbreak, the chaos. It's a time of the year when the improbable becomes the possible, where underdogs rise and giants fall. Every dribble and every shot carries the weight of a dream. The dream of being forever remembered, or a dream that is shattered in an instant. In the blink of an eye, a season can change. A clutch steal, a decisive rebound, a shot that seems to defy time. All can be the difference between glory and heartbreak. Every team is chasing one thing. One winner, 67 losers. The time where the strongest are tested and the unlikeliest of heroes emerge. The road is uncertain, but that's what makes it unforgettable. And in the heart of it all, there's always a shining moment. When a player hits that unforgettable shot, a team makes a run no one saw coming. In a single play comes a piece of history. This is a month that leaves its mark. And the memories will last long after the confetti falls. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to March. The madness is here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 161 of Crunch Time with the N326 duo. I am your host, Sam Godsey, and with me today, as always, is Tanner Dislin. Tanner, March Madness is finally here. How are you doing?
I don't know if I could be better. I mean, I'm holding a physical bracket. I must have written 8, 10 of these. A few of them were just the exact same bracket, same teams. I just wanted to write it. I just kept writing it. I just kept doing it over and over again. Fresh off the printer, I smelt it a few times. I mean, it's the best. It is the absolute best.
Absolutely. And of course, we're bringing him back. I believe he is the most reoccurring guest, Erich Godsey. Erich, you were a little on the edge going into this tournament. Your Hogs make it. How are you feeling today?
Feeling great, considering about this time last year, obviously we were 16 and 17 with Muss. He decided to go to USC. So going from that one side of the spectrum to this side, now making it, whether it's 11, 12, 13, 10, whatever, it's good to be in the big dance.
Absolutely.
So what I've gained from that is if you're around 500, you make a coaching change, you're guaranteed to be in the dance next year. I like that. I like that.
Nice.
I like that.
There you go. 2026, fellas, it's your year.
But, of course, we are going to be breaking down this crazy bracket that got revealed on Sunday. So let's hop right into it. Let's take a look at this from just as an overview, as a bracket as a whole. There's some major talks around the reveal. UNC getting in some snubs. Erich, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have heard it by now. Obviously, the chair of the selection committee is the UNC AD. Obviously, puts up a little bit of question marks. Now, of course, he went on to CBS after they announced it all and was like, I wasn't in the room, blah, blah, blah. But it's like if we were the committee and it was up for Iowa and you guys were like, all right, I'm going to step out, and then you guys come back in. It's like, yeah, just because you were outside, you could have heard everything, could have been like, all right, so we good? Like, it just, I don't know. I personally don't really understand it. I think, I'm sure we'll get into some of the snubs, but there's a few that just, I would be livid. I'd be absolutely livid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tanner, you got any snubs in mind?
I mean, the obvious too that everyone's saying, right? I mean, West Virginia, 1,000 million bajillion % deserves to be in this field over North Carolina. North Carolina had 2 wins against the field. What were they, like 2-10 against the field? And one of them was American. The other one was UCLA in a game they almost lost and almost choked. So no matter which way you look at it, UNC does not deserve to be here. Even when I wish they would be consistent with the conferences. You're going to respect the ACC enough to put UNC in, but not enough to put Duke as the number 1 overall seed. You're going to respect the ACC enough to have UNC in, but Louisville's an 8 seed. Like, what are we? What is this? What are we doing? The lack of consistency within the conference is really frustrating. And then the other one is Indiana. I mean, Indiana went to Michigan State and beat Michigan State in East Lansing. I mean, that win is way better than anything UNC has. So I just don't get it. But here we are.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 common ones, obviously. And neither have elected to play any postseason, and I totally understand that. But yeah, I totally agree. Where does the respect for the ACC go in getting in UNC? And then, but why is Louisville an 8 seed? I think that's a question everyone's asking. But Eric, do you have any more snubs? If not, talk to me about some surprises. Obviously, UNC being the big one here, but are there any where you don't believe they got seated correctly? Talk to me.
Yeah, you mentioned Louisville. I think Louisville and Memphis were 2 that didn't make any sense because I would have thought they'd be flip-flopped. The other one that was really surprising was, and obviously there's 14 teams of the SEC, and I'm an SEC guy. That's awesome, but I don't think Texas should have been in. I think OU is ridiculous at a 9 seed, even though they were 6-10, or I'm sorry, 6-12 in conference. And obviously we were 8-10, so not much better. But the fact that they were apparently on the bubble and we were in, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think Gonzaga being an 8 is way too low. So I don't know if it just happened to be there were too many SEC teams where they had to move around matchups, because I know there's a whole thing about if they've played in the regular season 1 or 2 times, but that's what it kind of seemed, and it seemed like a few teams got kind of screwed if that's the reasoning.
Yeah, I'd like to throw Michigan in there as well at the 5 slot.
Yeah.
I mean, the other Big Ten teams, Wisconsin at a 3, Maryland at a 4. Who did Michigan play in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah,
Wisconsin and Maryland. And who did they beat in the Big Ten tournament? Wisconsin and Maryland. That didn't make much sense to me. It could be the Big Ten tournament is just so late that they don't have time to, you get those results in. You can't shift it around, maybe. And then, obviously looking at the number 1, I don't know if we're going to get into that in a minute. I mean, Auburn obviously has been best team in college basketball for a long time. They're the only 1 seed that's coming in, that's limping in here with, losing, 3 of the last 4. Yeah. They have a worse record than Florida. They play in the same conference. Florida won the conference. Duke obviously dominated their conference, in a conference that you felt deserved an extra bid in UNC. I think right now both of those teams might have a better argument at the number 1 overall seed than Auburn.
Yeah, I was definitely shocked when Auburn was announced as the number 1 overall seed. I do think the injury to Cooper Flagg with Duke maybe put a little hesitancy in there, but yeah, I totally agree. Florida has gotten scorching hot down the stretch. But yeah, I think they got 3. I think they got the 4 teams right. I don't know if they
I agree with that.
Order right.
I agree. Totally agree with that.
You agree, Eric?
Yeah.
All right. Y'all ready to dive into these games now? I got to ask, are y'all a region by region, or do you go down? Just do all first round games? How y'all want to approach this?
When I fill mine out, I usually go round by round, but I think when we discuss it, I think it's easier for a listener to stay within the region and go region.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect.
But I'm down to go. All
right, we will start in the South region. We have the number 1 overall seed, Auburn, taking on the winner of Alabama State and St. Francis. I assume no one's calling the upset. I think we all got Auburn here.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. We will move on to what I think is one of the most intriguing first round matchups. Personally, the hardest game I had to pick, of course, Louisville and Creighton. Eric, who you got here?
I'm going to Louisville. I think they're going to have the chip on their shoulder because I think they probably thought they were going to be a little bit of a higher seed. The matchup with Creighton, it's a tough pull for them. And then obviously, even if you win that game, you go up against the number one overall seed, whether you believe it is or not. They obviously dominated throughout the entire year. So for at least that first 8-9, I'm going to go with Louisville.
Tim?
Sam, I agree with you. I've gone back and forth. I mentioned I wrote like 8 brackets. This game was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, everything to me, like we have discussed already so far in this in the short while we've been on here. Louisville, very underseeded. I like this team a lot. Creighton, though, the Kalkbrenner factor. Who's guarding Ryan Kalkbrenner? Yeah. I don't know. He will be an absolute force in this game. It is going to be like a de facto home game for Louisville. That that matters in these type of things. I am going to go Louisville. Very, very tough game. Kalkbrenner scares me, but I'm going to go with Louisville as well.
Yeah, I am also going with the Cardinals here.
What could go wrong?
I really love Chuck Hepburn, I believe is his name. He's been absolutely on
the
fire.
Wisconsin transfer
into the ACC tournament and beyond, has been hooping for Louisville all season. Moving on to the 5-12 matchup, we have Michigan, the Big Ten champs, taking on a very popular upset pick in University of Cal, San Diego. Tanner, you rolling with the upset pick, or are you going to stay home with Michigan?
Look, I see the vision. I see, like, you know, we've all seen the stats. Michigan, obviously, very turnover prone, and the Tritons force a lot of turnovers, highest turnover defensive efficiency in the country. Yeah. I just think Michigan has too much size. I mentioned the how I think they get screwed with this ranking. Tough draw in the first round, but I do think they're able to get it done. I am going with the Wolverines. Too much size for San Diego, but man, I wanted to. I really wanted to.
Eric?
Exact same thing. It's a popular upset that also kind of just sways, just when you're going up against a bunch of people in a bunch of different brackets. But I agree. I think there's just way too much size on that Michigan team, regardless of the turnovers.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I wanted to pick it, this would be the one I pick. And of course, Michigan wins by 25. Another thing to note.
I was going to say, I get vibes from, it's funny I'm going to say this because obviously we'll get to this team later. It was like McNeese last year. They're the most popular upset. They're like, oh my God, 12-5, they're going to do it. He's got the doors blown off him.
Absolutely. And San Diego hasn't played a Power 4 opponent all year. Has a really weak strength of schedule. I think I heard on a talk show their tallest player is like 6'8". So that could be a trouble when you're facing a team like Michigan. They have 2 7-footers and one's basically a guard. But let's move on to this 4-13 matchup. We have Texas A&M with Wade Taylor and Yale. Eric, who you got here?
This is my upset in this. I think Texas A&M, they beat Auburn during the regular season, and then they lose like 4 in a row. I just think this team is very inconsistent. Yale always pulls off some upsets every once in a while. I think it was just last year that they beat Auburn. So they got a really good coach. And again, we've played Texas A&M. We lost to them, but they're very inconsistent, even with their 8th year senior Wade Taylor, or however long he's been there.
Yeah, they retired his jersey.
Yeah, he's still
that's insane.
COVID year.
His 4th COVID year, but yeah.
After everything I've said this year about Texas A&M,
that's disgusting.
There is no way I can back them. Maybe I agree. John Polidakis, the point guard from Yale. We all know what he did last year. He is so fun to watch. A little crafty lefty. Obviously, no Danny Wolf. He went on to Michigan. That is a little bit of an issue. A team. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year, but I do like them to win this game as well. They're just Yale is they're always that team. They win the Ivy League, they get in, and they have that pedigree. Head coach James Jones has done it before. I think he does it again. Give me Yale.
I like it, but I don't like it as much as A&M. Everyone knows they live and die by Wade Taylor, and those are the guys you kind of like in March Madness if it gets hot. We saw it with Golke a couple years ago. I think Wade Taylor has the chance to take this team to the next round. So give me A&M and the Aggies here, but I could also see him shooting 4 for 25.
Yep.
So let's roll with it. But moving on to the 6-11 match, we have the Ole Miss Rebels taking on the winner of San Diego State and UNC. Who you got here, Tanner?
UNC does deserve to be in the field. That's why they're going to beat San Diego State and they're going to beat Ole Miss because college basketball makes no sense. I remember a few years ago, I was the dude. What is UCLA doing in this field? They do not deserve to be here. They go to the damn Final Four because that's how this works. So UNC, I guess if I'm counting it, if San Diego State wins, by the way, full disclosure, I'm counting it as a correct pick. But I do have UNC beating them and then UNC beating Ole Miss as well.
Eric?
I got Ole Miss. They just have a really weird lineup. They kind of have their 5 that is almost like a 4. So if they go up against kind of a team that has that big man that can't switch off those screens as aggressively, which happened every time that we played them when we had to do and Big Z out there. So I got Chris Beard and Ole Miss pushing on through there.
Not so fast. I have UNC. I do think they're going to beat San Diego State, but I will take the points if San Diego State wins. I like either of those teams going up against Ole Miss and getting that one. Moving on to 3 versus 14, we have Iowa State, who has had an up and down year all season, battling a lot of injuries, taking on Lipscomb. Eric, who do you like here?
I got Iowa State. I just think they're the better team, even though they are missing a key piece with an injury. But yeah, give me the Cyclones in the first round.
Yeah, TJ Otzelberger, very smart move, not announcing his injuries till after after the field comes out. Really,
that's absurd.
That is a really smart move. I mean, if they're gonna keep him and take him into account, which I don't think they should, to be honest. But if they do, screw it. We're not going to tell you. I do have Iowa State here. I don't think it's going to be as convincing as some other people. I think Iowa State with the injuries. Lipscomb is a very good basketball team. I think they could do it. I don't think they will, though. Give me Iowa State.
Yeah, I got Iowa State here. I do think they will struggle on the offensive end without Gilbert. He was averaging like 14 points this season. And without that, they could hurt, but I still think they get done against Lipscomb. Moving on to the 7-10 matchup, we got Marquette with Shaka Smart and New Mexico. Tanner, who you got?
What a fun game, by the way. It's going to be up and down. A lot of both teams are going to press, get up in their kitchen. But look, I think Mr. Patino is going to have the scouting report from his old man about Marquette, and I can't believe I'm going to trust the Mountain West here, but I am. I'm going to go with New Mexico. Give me the Lobos.
Eric?
I agree. I think it's going to be a super fast-paced game. Honestly, this I think is just a 50-50 toss-up. I know that New Mexico has that guy who's averaging like 20 and is just an absolute dog, so he could be one of those guys that pulls up through like the Sweet 16, and we're talking about him in the one shining moment. But I'm gonna go Marquette with the Big East. I've just kind of watched a little bit more of their games, and it's one of those 50-50 toss-up games for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the stud on New Mexico, a name that could be a huge impact in this March Madness of Marquette, Cam Jones. I think he has kind of had an up and down year. I think when the light shine brightest, I think he is going to step up big time. Give me Marquette in this one. And then wrapping it up, the 2-15 Michigan State, Bryant. Eric, who you got?
Michigan State. Simple. It's January, February, Izzo.
Fact.
Just to put a name, by the way, Donovan Dent is the guy we're talking about for New Mexico. Really good player. But yeah, Michigan State. Next question.
Yeah, I do. This Michigan State team has been very weird. I don't think they are the most naturally talented team Izzo has had, but they're still sitting at a 2 seed. Trey Hallman, Jace Richardson, those are two names everyone needs to be on the lookout for. But let's go ahead and move on to the second round. Let's go back up top. Tanner, talk to me about that matchup, Auburn, and do you have Louisville as well?
I did. I wanted to so bad. I wanted to so bad. I do like this Louisville team. Auburn, again, as the 1 seed, it's just, I heard this somewhere, and I think it's a great way to put it. It's not obviously that they're not talented. It's just right now, it seems like the vibes are off. The vibes are off with Auburn. I'm not going to do it, though. Auburn gets this win. There's just no one to guard. It's the same thing with Kalkbrenner. It's just no one to guard Janai Broom, and the rest of the team is just more talented. So Auburn.
Derek?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think Auburn gets into the second round. I think it's a really close game, but Auburn's just got some older guys. I think Broom is going to push them through. Yeah, give me Auburn.
I guess I'll be the balls of steel heel. Give me the Cardinals.
I like it.
I know I said in past episodes, the conference, I don't put a lot of effort or thought into the conference tournament, but when you are the number 1 overall seed, you are limping through the end of the season in Chad Baker Mazara. I think he's going to screw up big time in this game, getting Louisville the win. But moving on.
Shout out Pat Kelsey, man, head coach from Charleston. They were always in it.
Yeah.
Popular upset pick.
Absolutely. Moving on, I believe but all of us have Michigan and Texas A&M. Who y'all got?
I got Michigan facing Yale, but I got Michigan going through. I think Yale kind of uses all their power against Texas A&M in the first round, and then I think Michigan with their 2 bigs is just such a weird matchup for a lot of teams. So give me Michigan going to the Sweet 16.
Ditto. No notes. Same thing.
Yep. Michigan as well. Moving on.
Damn you, Dusty, man. I knew the minute they hired him, it was like, damn, this sucks. I liked it better when they sucked.
Yeah, you and me both. But moving on, talk to me about that next matchup, Tanner.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the San Diego State, UNC, and Iowa State. I think, I think Lipscomb has a better chance of beating Iowa State than San Diego State, UNC does. I think Iowa State gets a little bit of a wake up call in a tough game against Lipscomb, and they handle San Diego State and UNC. So Iowa State moves on.
I got Ole Miss going to the Sweet 16. I think a lot of people forget that Chris Beard is a damn good coach. And again, going back to just they have a really weird lineup. They have a veteran with Medulla, I believe is the guy who hit the 3 in the SEC tournament over Arkansas. They just have some guys that have kind of been there before. So I think that's kind of one of the upsets as well going into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, absolutely.
Virginia Tech transfer, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep, that's correct.
Cold ass white boy.
Yeah.
But I have UNC, San Diego State. I agree with you, Tanner. I think Iowa State kind of gets that wake up call and they beat the Tar Heels. But next matchup I got is Marquette, Michigan State. I think Cam Jones' luck runs out. I just think Izzo outcoaches Shaka Smart. So I got Michigan State.
I have New Mexico, Michigan State, but I came to the same conclusion. It's Michigan State. I think they just have the ability to handle, New Mexico State. They're going to try and play fast paced. They're going to try and speed up Michigan State. They're going to try and press. Michigan State will handle it easily. Give me the Spartans.
Yep, same here. Sparties move on.
So now let's move on to Sweet 16, and we'll just go ahead and finish out from there. So, Eric, talk to me about your Sweet 16 matchups. Who you got moving on to Elite 8 and then making an appearance in Final Four?
Yeah, so Sweet 16, we got Auburn versus Michigan, and then Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. Little SEC Big Ten matchups. Auburn's been struggling. I get it. I just think the amount of talent they have played against has really got them ready for where they're at. I think towards the end of the year, they just kind of just kind of fell apart a little bit, and now they're going to be restructured and ready to go. So move them on, and then I think Tom Izzo just has them so locked in. It'll be a great coaching matchup with Ole Miss and Michigan State, but let me get Michigan State to move on. And if this actually were to happen, Auburn versus Michigan State, I think it would be a matchup. Just coaching Bruce Pearl versus Tom Izzo would be awesome, but I have Auburn getting to the Final Four.
Yeah, so in my Sweet 16, I have the same matchup: Auburn, Michigan. Michigan size is, obviously Vlad Golden, been there with FAU. I think they give Janai Broom trouble, but this is a game where Auburn's guards win in the game. I think they step up, and Auburn beats Michigan, move on to the Elite Eight. I had Iowa State, Michigan State. I just think, with the health of Iowa State, I think they'll be able to get this far without Gilbert, but they're going to miss him against Michigan State. I got Izzo moving on, and then, as you said, absolute must-see TV. However, I'm a Big Ten guy, I'm rolling with Michigan State because Izzo, it's something with that team, man. It's a few years ago when they beat the Zion Duke. They're just always there, and they win the big games, and they're going to the Final Four.
I like it. I have Louisville, Michigan, and then Iowa State, Michigan State. I have Louisville. I think their magic continues on to the Elite Eight. And then Iowa State, Michigan State. I like what you said, Tanner. I think Iowa State without Gilbert gets them so far, and who knows what the rest of the team is going to be at that point. And I just think very similar teams between Iowa State, Michigan State, dominant on the defensive end, at times can struggle. I like Jace Richardson to step up big in this one. Give me Michigan State. And then, so Michigan State, Louisville in my Elite Eight. I got Michigan State, Tom Izzo. Y'all have talked about it at length. So I got Michigan State coming out of the South. But we talked about, y'all mentioned the Michigan State Auburn matchup. We talked about some upsets, with San Diego being a very popular one, Yale being another. Y'all want to talk about any individual matchup, what you're looking forward to, or any other potential upsets?
Yeah, go for it. You got it, Tanner.
Okay, I'm just looking at that pot. Like, that pot is crazy. I mean, two of the most popular upsets right in front of us with Yale over A&M and San Diego over Michigan. From a picking standpoint, it's tough because I kind of wanted to go double upset, but then one of them is guaranteed to come in your round in your Sweet 16, and that's kind of tough. So those are two definitely we talked about and very popular. And then I mentioned I have this weird feeling that Lipscomb is going to give Iowa State more trouble than in their second round game. So that's one to look out for. I don't think it'll happen, but I think I would be less surprised than the average person if it did.
Eric, I think we need to keep an eye out on.
I'm really excited for Louisville Creighton game. I think that one's going to be, as per usual, an 8-9, always a good matchup. And I think they're both just going to be clawing to get out of there and have a chance to play the Tigers.
Yeah, I think that matchup's going to be awesome. And then that second round, despite who wins, we all rolled with Louisville, but I think that Creighton-Auburn matchup could be freaking awesome. I think Kalkbrenner and Janai Broom, come on. You got probably the best defender, big man, facing off the best big man all around. That's going to be a matchup to watch out for. But a lot of interesting matchups coming down the stretch here. So the South is going to be fun to watch, but let's go ahead and
also real quick, not to mention the potential for a Michigan State Elite Eight matchup.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
We don't want that.
That would be insane.
That would be insane.
But moving on down to the West region, we have Florida as the number one seed. Very popular team this year. St. John's coming in at 2. Then we got Texas Tech out of the Big 12. Maryland out of the Big Ten. Those are your top 4 seeds. But let's kick it off with the 1 versus 16, of course, Florida versus Norfolk State. Are we all on the same page? Florida here.
Yep.
Waxism. Absolute wax.
Yeah, I have a. Yeah, that could be very ugly. But moving on, that 8-9 matchup, one of the most popular games just throughout the March Madness field. We have UConn taking on Oklahoma. UConn, just a very down year for them. Obviously, Dan Hurley has become college basketball's villain, the most beloved last year to the most villainized this year. But Eric, who you got? UConn, Oklahoma.
I got UConn. I think it'll be a little bit closer than maybe a lot of people think. I know Oklahoma's coach has been there a couple of years now and is struggling just with the transfer portal and a lot of guys leaving and all that kind of stuff. But again, Dan Hurley he knows how to get his guys ready. So I think UConn gets it done in that first matchup.
I'm going to go Oklahoma. I've seen no one else pick Oklahoma. I think, this team they were a top 20 team and then they ran into the SEC. They went 6-12 in conference, which is not good, but every night you're playing a top 20 team. They started off 13-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
They had a really nice non-conference. And I think we just kind of dismissed them because they had struggled in conference, but yeah, they played in one of the greatest conference seasons I can remember. So I think Oklahoma, and you mentioned their coach. I mean, Porter Moser was with Loyola Chicago. I mean, he's got some experience in the tournament. Yep. So give me Oklahoma. Screw it.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think they move on past this game. So I'm going UConn here because honestly, I don't think it really matters who wins. But moving on to that 5-12 matchup, we got Memphis taking on Colorado State. Tanner, who you got?
Yeah, Memphis is a real tough team. I have a personal grudge against Memphis. I picked them to beat FAU and then go on to the Elite Eight. They lost by 1. FAU went on to the Elite Eight, and I was very sad. And I cannot pick Memphis, especially with injuries to Tyrese Hunter. Don't know his availability. He was in a boot yesterday and was on crutches. And Clifford from Colorado State is playing really good basketball. I'm going to back the Mountain West again. Surely this can't go poorly. But give me Colorado State in the first 12-5.
Yeah, I think with Memphis, that Tyrese Hunter injury is going to be detrimental. I do think Memphis had one of the best backcourts all season, but with Hunter injured, I don't think they're the same team. Give me Colorado State. Eric, you rolling with Colorado State or you rolling with the Tigers?
Well, I think Memphis is overrated for where their rank is. I think Colorado State is underrated. I also have Colorado State. They're actually favored in that game as well. So
yeah, I was going to say they're favored by 3.5. So Vegas agrees with us, which
means Memphis will probably win by 10. But yeah, I'm going Colorado State.
Yeah, for the record, I'm very scared of PJ Haggerty, very scared of Dane Danger. But
let's ball.
Moving on, baby.
4-13. We got Maryland versus Grand Canyon. Eric, who you got here?
I got Maryland. I know they played really well in the Big Ten. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about this Grand Canyon team. I was kind of looking up a little bit of their stats today. Nothing really jumped out of the screen just in regards to who they've kind of played, but I obviously could have overlooked something. But yeah, give me the Terps to move on.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not the same Grand Canyon squad from last year. Obviously, the Antelopes had a great season last year. I actually had that upset as a lot of people did, and it came through. However, they're not going to win this game. I got the Terps. Maryland, that starting 5 can compete with anyone in the country. And yeah, sorry, Bryce Drew. I got the Terps.
Yeah, I think Derek Queen, big man for Maryland, is going to absolutely dominate this game. I love their starting 5. Give me Maryland here. Moving on, we got the 6-11 matchup. Missouri taking on Drake. Tanner, who you got?
I mean, I know it's popular. I can't get over my love affair with Drake. I see them. I'm going to write them. It's a sickness. The past like 4 years doesn't matter. They always they under DeVries they would always choke. I'm gonna do it again. Give me Drake because I can't stop picking Drake.
Eric?
You can't stop picking them, and I will never pick Mizzou. So I'm riding with Drake.
Hey, there we go.
I can't do it. We'll never pick Mizzou. So yeah, let's go Drake.
Yep, I am riding the Drake train. Ben McCollum, certified winner, came from Northwest Missouri State, was there 15 years, never lost 100 games during his career, brought his boys with him. They have like 4 D2 transfers. They have been dominating a rather competitive Missouri Valley Conference. Ben Sturtz, 1946. Going to be a guy to keep your eye out on. The one hesitancy I do have with Drake is they love to slow the game down. That's just not. Sometimes it works, but we've seen it bite teams' ass in the past. But I like Drake here. I think they give Missouri a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's if this gets into a up and down the floor type of game. I remember a game Missouri played Bama. They won like 118 to 104 or something. If that happens, Drake is screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. But moving on to 3-14, we got Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. Eric, who you got?
This is going to be a good game. Texas Tech played really well in the Big 12. They're very balanced all around. They got a tough pull with UNC Wilmington. Arkansas played them earlier in the year. They almost came back and won. This is going to kind of be my bold pick, I think, of the entire thing is if Texas Tech wins this game, I think they make the Elite Eight. I think they're a well-balanced team. I like the matchups that they can have in front of them. So I'm going with the Red Raiders.
I'm also going with the Red Raiders. I like that. I picked them to win the Big 12. I really like this Texas Tech team, man. I don't know what to tell you. When I see a team, I get fixated on them. So give me the Red Raiders and give me Mr. Toppin.
Yep, JT Toppin, the name to keep your eye out on. He is an absolute stud. I believe he won Big 12 Player of the Year. I like them in this one. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. But let's go down to the coaches' gauntlet, Tanner. 7 versus 10, Kansas versus Arkansas. Who you got here?
I think we should throw this one to our.
Let's go, Eric.
Mr.
Do you
Arkansas
trust Coach Cal over Bill Self? I do. I gotta say, I do like the draw here for Arkansas in this first matchup. I don't think Kansas is the Kansas of old, and I hate Hunter Dickinson. So,
yeah,
what are your thoughts?
I think a bunch of this game is going to be Hunter Dickinson versus our 2 bigs, and if we can get him into foul trouble or he gets our guys into foul trouble. We have Boogie Flan coming back. He hasn't played since January 22nd, I believe. So kind of implementing him back into the rotation. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think the pull is good. Like you said, the Kansas team is not as good as normal. 2 years ago when we made the Sweet 16, we beat them to go, and they were a number 1 seed. So obviously different players, different coaches, but we played them earlier this year in an exhibition game. They didn't have Hunter Dickinson as well as another guy, I'm forgetting his name. And then we didn't have Big Z or Jonas Adu playing that game. So you can kind of look back at that tape, but it's going to be a completely different game. But yeah, obviously I'm riding with my Hogs. So let's get it done.
Who I thought.
Who are you going with?
Dude, read the hat. I got the Hogs here. It's a little personal bias, but I also don't think Kansas is that good. I think Hunter Dickinson, he's gonna get 20 and 10 like every game. It's the guys surrounding him. Zeke Mayo is up and down all year. DeJuan Harris has been there since sliced bread was invented. And then the worst transfer of all, AJ Storrs, just does not play. And I think with the lack of scoring talent on Kansas, I think Arkansas can give them issues. They love to run and gun, get up shots, and score a lot. Give me Arkansas here.
Give me Kansas. I'll save the bracket. You're welcome. Or no, the graphic. I'll save the graphic. You're welcome.
Oh, that's good.
I love it. But Tanner, talk to me about this next matchup: St. John's versus the Omaha Omaha Mavericks. Who you got here?
Yeah. Look, I kind of get the same Lipscomb Iowa State. Like, I think Omaha is the best 15 seed. I think St. John's can really struggle shooting the ball at times. I think St. John's wins the game. I'm not going to write Omaha, but if Omaha wins and everyone's like, "Oh my God, the Johnnies bow out," I think I'll be less surprised than the average person. However, I do think St. John's wins this game.
Eric?
Could not agree more. The biggest thing that jumped out of the page is when I was just looking at their 3-point field goal percentage, and obviously they're playing different, strengths of schedules and everything else. But Omaha shoots 37% from three, and I know St. John's struggles very, very much. So going with St. John's, but I also agree if Omaha were to just light them on fire from three, wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. The St. John's 30% on the year from three. Definitely concerning, but I don't think it's too big of a concern here. Give me St. John's, but I would not be surprised if Omaha gets this upset. But I just don't trust it that much. But let's move on to that second round. We got Florida versus UConn or Oklahoma. Tanner, talk to me about this one.
I got Florida, Oklahoma. I've got Florida, as you mentioned, part of the reason why I took the flyer on Oklahoma. I do think what I said was true, how I think they're maybe a better team than some people think because of their, they had a tough conference. They were good at a conference. But also they're just going to run into Florida and lose. So give me the Gators.
Yep, I have UConn here. I think Florida is one of the hottest teams in the country. Their guards are some of the best in the country. Give me Florida.
Yep, I got Florida and UConn as well. Riding with Florida, they actually kind of remind me a lot of UConn's past 2 years of championships. So I like Florida a lot. They're hot at the right time. They can hit on all cylinders. So, they move on to the Sweet 16.
Next one here, we got Colorado State, I believe, across the board, taking on Maryland. Eric, who you got here?
I got Maryland. I just think Colorado State has that first round that's really good. And then I think Maryland kind of stops their dreams. So give me Maryland.
Couldn't agree more. And just think, that starting five, man, they are good. But the problem, when do they run out of steam? I think they have enough in this one to beat Colorado State. I think Maryland wins.
Yep, I'm not overthinking this one. Give me Maryland here. Moving on, we got Drake, Texas Tech across the board. Eric, are you rolling with the Bulldogs in this upset, or are you going with Texas Tech?
Like I said, if Texas Tech gets out of that first round, I think they roll on to the Elite Eight. So, give me the Red Raiders over Drake.
Red Raiders.
Yeah. I'd love to go with Drake, but the fact they like to slow it down in Texas Tech, doesn't. So give me Texas Tech here. Eric, I'll go back to you for this one. Arkansas versus St. John's. Do your Hogs pull out the upset, or do you think St. John's defensive prowess just gets the best of them?
It's going to be must-watch TV, that's for sure. I think both these teams can sometimes they have really good shooting nights and sometimes they're really bad. I think it's going to be one of those where whoever's shooting a little bit better that's just going to roll their way the whole game. So a little biased again, but I'm going to go with Arkansas. I think they slow them down. I think they force them to take shots that they don't want to take. We move the ball through Jonas Adu, play the big man game, and we win the game.
Oh boy. Give me the Jayhawks, baby. Give me the Jayhawks because I have Kansas beating Arkansas. I think they get it done on St. John's as well. Look, I am very scared of this St. John's team. We've said it many times. I just don't know if they have the shot making. We all know the thing where it's like, oh, Rick Pitino, only a handful of teams have made the Final Four without shooting 30% or 35%. This St. John's team compared to like his Louisville teams were like, if the threshold was 35, they were like 33, 32.
Yeah.
This St. John's team was like 27%. Like they do not shoot the ball well at all. And that is a big issue. Give me Kansas. Hunter Dickinson will be the best player on the floor. I think Bill Self will have a plan to make them shoot from deep. I like this spot to upset St. John's. I just happen to have it Kansas.
I really don't like this, boys. I got Arkansas here.
Oh, no.
We're screwed. We're screwed.
For all the reasons y'all
St. John's is
mentioned.
winning it all. St. John's is winning it all.
Yeah, that would be. But, I mean, like y'all.
It's going to be
have
St.
just-
John's versus Memphis in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
We're all just gonna
honestly. But yeah, I just do not trust their offense. But that matchup between either Bill Self or Coach Cal versus Rick Pitino, that's going to be must-watch TV. But let's break it down from the Sweet 16 to the Final Four. Eric, I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, got Florida, Maryland. Like I said, I think Florida's just a freaking wrecking ball. I think they get the win, and then, like I said before, Texas Tech win that first game. I think they're moving and grooving. They're just so well balanced. Get to see a great Florida Texas Tech matchup, hopefully. And I got the number 1 seed getting out of this region as well, like I did the South with Auburn. So give me Florida to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I also have Florida, Maryland. Maryland, that starting five is going to get a lot of run. They run out of gas. Florida, they do it in so many ways. You want to slow it down? That's fine. They have the size to do that. They can get inside. Best offensive rebounding team. You want to get out and run? That's fine. They'll do that too. And then on the bottom half of the bracket, I have Texas Tech, Kansas. I can't get over the Red Raiders, man. Texas Tech going to the Elite Eight. And then, as Eric said, Florida is an absolute buzzsaw.
This is going to be the bracket, the region that's screwed. We're just all wrong because I have Florida,
We all have
Maryland,
the same thing.
Texas Tech, Arkansas. Give me Florida, Texas Tech, and give me Florida moving on.
We're either the most ball knower podcast, or we don't know anything about
We don't know
ball.
Yeah. I'm telling you out there, responsibly, of course. If you're a betting person, Memphis and St. John's in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, but obviously a lot of good matchups, a lot of potential upsets. Eric, who are some of the matchups, the upsets you are looking out for coming out of this West region?
Yeah, I think just everything at the bottom, just the coaching, freaking whatever you want to call it, with Bill Self, Cal, and Rick Pitino. All those games are going to be awesome in the second round, whoever does get pushed through. And then I think Florida, UConn. I think that's going to be a fun one just because Florida is so hot right now. And Dan Hurley's just an absolute psycho. So you just never know what's going to go on in that game.
Yeah, not throwing Chris Crutchfield's name in that for Omaha, unreal.
Just a fascinating region because, like, you look at the 1 seeds. Florida might deserve the number 1 overall seed. They're certainly playing the best basketball right now. Like mentioned the 15 seeds. Like Omaha's probably the best 15 seed, and we could give St. John's some issues. UConn, the 2-time defending national champions, they're going to have something to say in this, in this division or in this region. And Missouri Drake is a fascinating game. Were we all on Drake?
Yeah,
We were all on Drake.
Yeah.
But obviously, interesting on that Missouri roster. Grady Dick and Tony Perkins both used to play.
Grady Dick.
Grady Dick. What's his
Caleb
name?
Grill.
Caleb Grill. That's the guy. I always get them mixed up, dude. White guys in the Big 12. But yes, Caleb Grill and Tony Perkins used to play in the state of Iowa against Drake, so that could be interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Florida UConn, I want to see Dan Hurley cry a lot. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. I want to see if Drake can control the pace of game throughout this tournament. That Drake Texas Tech could be very interesting, or it could be a 30-point blowout. There's no in between. And of course, Kansas, Arkansas, Cal versus Self obviously is going to be a must-watch TV. So those are kind of the games I'm looking at, the storylines in this West region. But
yeah, and I know we were joking, but honestly, like in this, if PJ Haggerty goes off and Tyrese Hunter gets healthy and Dane Danger is inside the post, like Memphis can make the Sweet make the Sweet 16 if it's what was that in Maui in the beginning when they looked like
Yeah.
they looked like a force. So I mean, like this is a fascinating region. Fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's go up to the East bracket. We got Duke at the number 1 seed. We have number 2, Bama out of the SEC, 3, Wisconsin, 4, Arizona, 5, Oregon, and 6, BYU. Tanner, let's take it from the 116. Duke versus either American or Mount St. Mary's. Who you got here?
Cooper flag, no Cooper flag, does not matter. Duke will handle business in the 116.
Yep.
Duke. Yep. This next one could be a very interesting one. We got Mississippi State, Baylor. Baylor, obviously not where we normally see them in years past, but Eric, who you got here?
I got Mississippi State. I think this will be a really fun 8-9 game again. Arkansas has played both these teams, so kind of seeing a little bit of both sides. Josh Hubbard for Mississippi State's an absolute dog, other than him kicking his leg out as far as he can to get fouls, but that's neither here nor there. But give me the Bulldogs in this game.
Yeah, fascinating matchup as well. I wanted to so bad go with the Jeremy Roach versus Duke. That would have been awesome, but I just think in this matchup, I'm just going to back the SEC. They've been the best conference, and I'll go with Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'll do the revenge game.
Nice
storyline. Give me Baylor. Yeah. I want to see that Duke Jeremy Roach revenge game. I think that could be box office. But moving on to that 5-12 matchup, we got Oregon versus Liberty. Eric, who you got here?
I got Oregon. Don't know a whole lot about the Liberty. I know Oregon, their strength of schedule is pretty high. Played really well this year, and hopefully get a old Pac-12 matchup in the next round.
I got the Ducks as well. I'm not a Liberty fan. I don't think they're very good. I do think Oregon is quite good. I think I'm not. I think they're seeded okay, but I do think they're a team to watch as one that could go on a little bit of a run, though. So I'm going to go with the Ducks.
I'll tell y'all a little something about these Liberty Flames. 6th in field goal percents, 6th in 3-point. They love to get the ball in the hole. Give me the upset here.
Wow.
Liberty Flames over the Oregon Ducks. Moving on, though, we have Arizona taking on Akron. Eric, who you got?
Again, I just don't know a lot about some of these little mid-major teams, to be honest. Some of them I've heard a lot about throughout the year, but give me Arizona.
Akron was a team I had circled. This team can play spoiler in March. They love to score, love to get up and down, do not play much defense. A dreadful matchup. They got a team that is literally them, but just better. But to be honest, if I like Oregon against Arizona, a little peek into the future. So I said, screw it. Let's go with the upset. So I'm going Akron to beat Arizona, even though they are just kind of diet Arizona. But I think we get a Caleb Love masterclass. Give me 2 for 19 for Caleb Love, and Akron moves on. Give me the Zips.
Yeah, I think you nailed the storyline with Arizona all season. Live and die through Caleb Love. We've seen him be great and make it, and then sometimes shooting 2 for 15 and somehow making a 3/4 quarter shot.
I was going to say, and you've seen them both in the same game.
Yeah, it's just unreal. I don't trust this Arizona team. Akron, you said it, love to put the ball in the hole. 84.5 points per game. Made an amazing comeback in their conference tournament. So give me the battle of the 2 upsets, Liberty and the Akron Zips.
He's doubling up again. Let's go. Or he didn't double up last time. No, okay. I got you.
But moving on to that 6-11 matchup, seed a lot of people don't agree with. The 11 seed VCU taking on the 6 seed BYU. Eric, who you got here?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think VCU should have been a little bit higher. But I do have BYU in this. I think they're just on a hot streak right now. I think similar to kind of Florida, they're hitting their stride at the right time. So give me the Cougs.
Yeah, I agree with the VCU. I think they should be a little higher. To be honest, I think I might argue BYU might be a little higher too. 2 wins against Iowa State down the stretch. Going into the Big 12 semifinal. I think this team's pretty good, and I think they like to score. They like to shoot threes. When they're making their threes, they are a very tough team to beat, and I think they handle VCU. So give me the Cougars as well.
Yep, I love this BYU team. They're a bunch of cold ass white boys. Richie Saunders, a name to be remembered. I like the BYU Cougars in this one as well.
Cold ass white boys and an absolute ox in the paint.
Yes, absolute. That dude's a unit. But 3 versus 14, we got Wisconsin taking on Montana. Tanner, who you got here?
I'm just going Wisconsin here. I think they were my pick to win the Big Ten. I was a dreadful shooting night away from being correct, which sucks. But I kind of like this Wisconsin team. I think they score a lot of points. It's a theme that's kind of going on throughout this region between Akron, Arizona, and now and BYU and now Wisconsin. They score a lot of points. I think they will shoot better. I'm just going with the Badgers here.
Eric, who you got?
Couldn't agree more. Going with the Badgers, like you said in the Big Ten championship. I think they just hit a brick wall, and it was just not their day to win. But yeah, give me the white boy Super Bowl BYU Wisconsin in round 2.
That sounds about right. I like Wisconsin here too. John Tonji, one of the best players in the Big Ten this year. I think he struggled a little bit in that Big Ten championship. I think he bounces back here, gets the boys rolling, going on to that second round. Moving on, though, we have St. Mary's taking on the Commodores of Vanderbilt. Tanner, who you got here?
I went back and forth on this. To be honest with you, I have Vanderbilt here. At this point, I still think that I might want to change it, but I'm locked into Vanderbilt, so I'm just going to roll with it because I'm going to be honest, I don't think either of them beats Alabama. So I'm just going to roll with Vanderbilt and take a flyer on them because you look at the resume, obviously in the SEC, you have a ton of opportunities, but they have a lot of good wins on their resume. Battle tested, iron sharpens iron, and I don't know. St. Mary's has done me dirty in the past, so I don't really want to mess with them. So give me Vandy.
Yeah, this was a weird matchup. The biggest one for me. Vandy does have a guy, I believe, over like 6'7" that plays, so that is something concerning. I know St. Mary's rebounds the ball really well. But again, I agree with you. I think in the next round, no one's beating Bama. So I'm going to go St. Mary's, but I think their time will end once they face the Tide.
Yep, I agree with you, Eric. It was a coin flip because I knew they were going to lose to Alabama. It seems all of us are on Bama. The next one taking on Robert Morris. There is a little concern. I have a little concern with Grant Nelson's injury.
Yep,
we don't really know a whole lot about that, but 2 versus 15, give me Bama all day.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the second round, going back up top. Duke versus either Mississippi State or Baylor. Tanner, who you got here?
I had Duke, Mississippi State, and I have Duke. They're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. I think with or without flag. Yeah, give me Duke.
Yep, Duke. I had Baylor. Don't really care. Duke is an absolute wagon. But with or without Cooper Flag. I think later on in the tournament that Cooper Flag's health could be an issue, but I don't see it being an issue here. Next matchup, I believe both of y'all have Oregon, Arizona. So, Eric, who you got in that one?
I got Oregon. I think Arizona they always reach a goal in the tournament at one point, especially with Caleb Love. I think if he has a decent game 1, round 2, like you guys said, he'll probably go 2 for 18, and Oregon will beat him by 12. So give me the Ducks.
Yeah, I actually have Oregon Akron, but again, part of the reason was because I like Oregon over Arizona. Yeah. I really do. I think this Oregon team is pretty good, and not they played late games in the Big Ten, the nightcap on Fox. Not a lot of people watch. Not a lot of conversation around this Oregon team. I think they're pretty good. So give me the Ducks.
Yeah, I have the battle of the upsets: Liberty, Akron. Akron not known for playing defense a whole lot. So give me Liberty here. Um, but moving on, we got the battle of the white boys, BYU, Wisconsin. Here he got.
I'm gonna go with Wisconsin. I like, I buy into this Wisconsin team. I thought they looked great against Michigan State. And I think the thing for me is being able to get stops when they need it. Because we've said it once, we've said it a million times. This is not your Wisconsin team of old. They will not just sit back, slow the game down. They have no problem scoring points. They have no problem launching threes. They make a lot of them. Give me Wisconsin to beat BYU.
Couldn't agree more. Not much else to add. I think Badgers, like I said kind of earlier, I think when they played Michigan in the Big Ten championship, they kind of just ran out of gas, and I think they'll be rejuvenated and ready to go, especially versus BYU, who shoots a lot of threes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I got Wisconsin here. John Blackwell and Tanji, two of the best in the Big Ten. Give me Wisconsin here. Moving on, we have a split between St. Mary's, Vandy, and then facing on Bama.
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 Next question.
Yep. Next.
With or without Grant Nelson, I like Bama here, but let's go on. Eric, I'll let you take your Sweet 16 and break it down for us.
Yeah, so I got Duke, Oregon. I think by this time, if Duke has made it this far, I believe Cooper Flag should be back by this point, which just, like you said, they're a wagon with or without him. With him, they're obviously way better. So give me Duke to the Elite Eight. And then Wisconsin, Alabama, I think is a super fun matchup. I think Alabama last year when they made the Final Four, they were such a better three-point shooting team. This year, they're just not as much. Mark Sears is kind of taking a step back. And then again, Grant Nelson, we just don't know how healthy he's going to be. So give me the Badgers to go on to the Elite Eight. And of course, I hate this, but for my third number one seed to make the Final Four, I'm going to take Duke. I think number one seeds this year are just really good. I think in the past, UConn has just been so good, and that's kind of who everyone picked. And then you had like Zach Edey. I just don't see a ton of spread out with some of these teams. So I'm loving the number one seeds this year.
Well, this is going to be very boring because I have Duke, Oregon, and I have Duke beating Oregon. I have Wisconsin, Alabama, and an injured Grant Nelson leads me to pick Wisconsin. And then a rematch of the 2015 championship game, Duke, Wisconsin. I have Duke.
Yeah. I will say again, we either are ball knowers or we don't.
So I have
hopefully Sam saves us.
I have Duke Liberty. Unfortunately, Liberty is going to run into the best college basketball team this year in Duke. And then I got Wisconsin, Bama. I think from what I've read, Grant Nelson should be back by this moment if they make it. Alabama plays no lick of defense, but they love to score the damn ball. I like Bama over Wisconsin, but I've been high on Duke all year. I'm not going to change that. So I also have Duke in the final.
So is that 3-1 seeds, or do you have Michigan State?
I had Michigan State.
Oh, so me and Sam have the exact same Final Four thus far, and Eric has 3-1 seeds. Yep. It's the best thing about filling out a bracket. You're like, I love this, I love this, I love this. Then you look at it and you're like, oh my god, I hate this.
I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. But hopefully the Midwest switches it up.
Hopefully. We'll see. Obviously, a lot of interesting matchups here in the East. That Wisconsin-Bama game we mentioned could be a very fun one. But y'all have any other matchups, upsets? Obviously, I have Liberty going to my Sweet 16 and Akron beating Arizona. So those are my upsets. But y'all got any other thoughts? Eric, we'll start with you.
I think this is one of the more, I hate to say boring regions, just because I do love March Madness and every game. Like there's going to be, like Sam's probably going to be right with the Akron and Liberty and stuff like that. But I think BYU Wisconsin just be a really fun game, just with how well they both shoot the three, and hopefully can kind of speed each other up as well. So that's one game that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think the BYU, Wisconsin, they're very similar teams, as he said. I think the possibility of Bama Vanderbilt, a conference game. They know each other pretty well. That could be pretty fun.
Vandy beat them.
They might. They have. I was looking at their resume. They have a shocking number of really quality wins on their resume for sure. Um, and yeah, like a lot of similar teams, like with Arizona Akron, with BYU Wisconsin potentially, and then of
Yep.
course the Baylor Duke potential of a Jeremy Roach revenge game could be pretty fun. But I think what Eric said, I didn't want to say easy, but like I'm not the highest on Arizona as a top 4 seed, and I just think Duke, has really separated itself. So I'm pretty comfortably on Duke to make it out of here, as both of you are, as well. But some fun matchups in there for sure.
I lied. Vandy did not beat Bama. I was thinking of football, so that's.
I mean,
They lost 103 to 87.
I think you said Vandy didn't beat Bama, didn't they? And Bama or Vandy did in fact beat Bama.
Yeah.
That is
not this
just not this sport.
Another matchup I'm kind of looking forward to potentially seeing is St. Mary's Bama. Two completely different styles of play. St. Mary's loves to slow it down. Bama, we talked about at length. If they're not scoring 90 plus, they're probably not going to win the game. So having that matchup potentially could be a fun one. And then Jeremy Roach taking on Duke. Don't think it's going to be a very entertaining game, but with that storyline, it's always fun to watch. But let's go down to the Midwest here. We got Houston coming in at the 1 seed, Tennessee with the 2, Kentucky with the 3, Purdue with the 4, 5, Clemson. Let's start from the top. We got Houston versus Southern Illinois at Edwardsville. Houston.
Tell you what, Sui is fun to say, but it's Houston.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. They do have a little injury with Jawan Roberts here. Don't think it's going to matter in this matchup. But moving on to interesting one, Gonzaga, Georgia. Tanner, who you got here?
This is a really interesting one, and Georgia is playing great basketball right now. They had that upset win over Florida not too long ago, but Gonzaga is very much underseeded and not talked about. They got a quality win in their conference tournament against St. Mary's. So I like Gonzaga here, a criminally underrated team or underranked team that unfortunately I think Georgia gets the short end of the stick, and give me the Zags.
Could not agree more. Georgia has kind of gone through some ups and downs. Like you said, they beat Florida, and then they lost like 4 or 5 in a row, which obviously the SEC is stacked this year. But yeah, I think the Zags are extremely underrated. So yeah, I think give me Gonzaga.
Yep, I got Gonzaga here. They're 8th in the net ranking, top 10 KenPom. And Georgia, y'all have kind of mentioned it, very streaky. That is not a recipe for success in March Madness. So give me the Bulldogs here. Moving on, though, we got Clemson taking on McNeese and Will Wade. Eric, who you got here?
Oh, give me their manager. Give me the speaker. Give me the loudest volume you got. Give me the insomnia cookies. Give me what other NIL deal he has.
Buffalo Wild Wings, I think.
Buffalo Wild Wings. I think he's got like Chipotle or something. But yeah, I think I picked them last year as well. I think Will Wade is trying to prove something again this year because I think he probably will end up with a Power 4 school next year. And he's going up against his alma mater, so I think he's got a little extra chip on his shoulder. So yeah, give me McNeese State.
I was also on McNeese State last year, as I mentioned, and I will hashtag never forget. Give me Clemson. Screw
That's crazy. I got Clemson too. I'm staying away from the popular picks. I didn't go with San Diego. I know McNeese is a very popular one. I'm staying away. Instead, I'm rolling with teams that no one's talking about. So sure, it'll pan out for me. But give me Clemson here. Moving on, though, we got Purdue versus High Point. Eric, who you got?
I've never even heard of High Point, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I got Purdue. Simple as that.
Purdue.
Nope. Give me High Point, baby. High Point walks in. Look, the only thing I'm scared about with Purdue, I'm not a Purdue guy. I don't think they're very good. Braden Smith is very good. The team is not good. He is very good. When there's a chance that he just says, no, I'm not losing to High Point. He scores 35 and they will their way to a victory. High Point's fun, man. You saw the memes from their conference tournament, the guy walking like this. Come on. How can you not? I'm taking the bait. Give me High Point.
Yeah, not so fast. Give me Purdue. Braden Smith. Expect a big game from him. Purdue, we've seen them get upset in the recent past. I don't think it's going to be this year. Give me Purdue here. Next, we have Illinois versus either Texas or Xavier. Eric, who you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because if Texas wins, I think they have truly one of the best players in all the nation in Trey Johnson. That guy's unbelievable. He scored like almost 40 against Arkansas, if not 40, if I remember correctly. And then I think the next game we went like 0-15, but that's neither here nor there. But I have Illinois. I think when they're playing really well, they're an extremely, extremely hard team to beat. Again, they go through some ups and downs, but I like the Illini in this game.
May I remind you of when they played the Duke Blue Devils when they lost by 40 points? They're fake as shit. Give me Texas or Xavier. I do think Texas is going to win behind Trey Johnson.
Sam, great pick. However, I do think Xavier's going to win, but I like them both. I like them both against Illinois. Texas, as you mentioned, one of the best players in the country, lottery pick coming out of Texas. And then, Xavier, since February, this team is 9-2. And one of their losses in the Big East tournament by 2 to Marquette. I think Xavier's playing good basketball, and I think they do beat Texas, and I think they do beat Illinois as well. But I like either of them in that spot. Give me the play in there.
Absolutely. We move on to Kentucky versus Troy. Kentucky is battling some injuries, but Tanner, who you got here?
It's enticing. I think Calipari, Kentucky, that pairing together loses this game because it's what they do. They lose to double-digit seeds. But I don't think Kentucky loses this. Give me Kentucky.
Eric?
Yep, I got the Cats as well. I think they shoot the ball really well in this game. Arkansas played Troy and won, so Calipari's already beaten this team, but it's not in the tournament. So you may have been right if he was still there. But yeah, I got the Wildcats. They're getting back some players. I know they still have some injuries. Getting Lamont Butler back, they play extremely well when he is at point guard. So yeah, give me the Wildcats to win this first round.
Yep, not gonna overthink this one. Give me Kentucky. Moving on though, 7 versus 10. UCLA, Utah State. Eric, who you got?
A lot of these 7-10s are they're weird. I got UCLA in this one. Again, I just don't know a whole lot about these teams. A lot of the West teams just not have the chance to watch. But yeah, give me the Bruins.
I like UCLA as well. I don't think Utah State plays any defense. So give me UCLA. I think they win comfortably in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. I don't know a whole lot about these teams, but I know UCLA competed well in that Big Ten. So give me UCLA.
I can name you one thing in common between UCLA and Utah State. They both beat Iowa this year. So
who didn't beat Iowa?
Nebraska.
True.
They went 0-2 actually against Iowa.
Tough
for those counting.
Moving on to that 2:15, Tennessee versus Wofford. Who you got here?
I got Tennessee. They played so well in a very, very stacked SEC. Obviously came up short against Florida in the SEC championship, but I think they beat Wofford by a hefty margin.
Vols comfortably. Fletcher McGee walking through that door. Give me the Vols.
Yep. Give me Tennessee here. Moving on though, let's go back up top. We got Houston versus either Gonzaga or Georgia. Tanner, let's kick it off with you.
3 of the last 4 years, a number 1 seed has failed to make it to the Sweet 16. Last year was the first year in a few years that all 4 did. Houston is battling injuries. Gonzaga, the advanced analytics really like Gonzaga, and I do too. I think Gonzaga takes out Houston. The bad luck for Houston continues. Injuries as well as a bad draw leaves the Zags to take them down, as Houston is the latest and number 1 seed to not make the Sweet 16. Give me Gonzaga.
Eric?
I really hope we just are ball knowers, man, because I thought the exact same thing.
Oh boy.
I have Gonzaga beating the crap out of Georgia, going on to the next round and finding a way to win against Houston. I agree with everything you say with injuries. I think they're an extremely well-balanced team. They have an old Arkansas player in Caleb Battle that's an absolute dog. Yeah, I like the Zags to go to the Sweet 16.
I'll save the graphic. I feel like Houston has kind of been under the radar, and they've been kicking everyone's ass. I do have a little hesitancy with the Jawan Roberts injury. I do think this Gonzaga team could give them a run for the money, but I think this is Houston's year to make a deep run. So give me Houston here. Next, we have either Clemson or McNeese versus Purdue. Here, I'll let you kick this one.
Yeah, Clemson High Point. And again, it's part of a theme. I think Clemson would beat Purdue, so that's why part of the reason why I went High Point. Plus, they were fun. I like to do this, but I'm gonna go Clemson here. I think they make the Sweet 16 again.
Eric,
similar but just flip flops. I thought Purdue could beat Clemson or McNeese State, so I went McNeese. Now I'll go in Purdue to face Zags.
Yep, I got Clemson Purdue here. Give me Purdue. Not going to overthink this one. Braden Smith, we mentioned him at length. One of the best players in college basketball this year. Not going to overthink this one. Give me Purdue. Next, we have either Illinois or the play-in versus Kentucky. Eric, who you got?
I think this is kind of one of my dark horses. I know that you guys just absolutely doo-dooed on Illinois, but how hard they played against Arkansas, we were pretty healthy when we played them. And they pretty much almost beat us by like 15 or 20 points. So I have Illinois stopping the high-scoring Kentucky Wildcats and moving on to the Sweet 16.
I agree with your Kentucky fate. However, give me Xavier / Texas to beat Kentucky. Again, it's trends. It's what I feel like. I don't have the numbers, but what is it? The last few tournaments, a play-in team in that 11 slot has made the Sweet 16, and I think this year's version is going to be from that slot. Again, a lot of this is riding with Xavier, but if Texas wins, then I still claim it. So.
Yeah, I have
Sweet 16.
I have Texas versus Kentucky. I do think Texas is going to pull that one out. Trey Johnson, as good as he's been, I think Kentucky's just experience and talent overwhelming. Give me Kentucky here. But moving on, we have either UCLA versus UCLA or Utah State taking on Tennessee. Eric, who you got?
I got Tennessee. I think they're from guards to big men, everything in between, just all around a really good team. So I think I have UCLA, but I think Tennessee goes on to the Sweet 16 to face the Illini.
I am on record on this podcast saying Tennessee has all the makings of a team that will not make the Sweet 16. Then I watched them play in the SEC tournament, and they really impressed me in the SEC tournament. They had more offense than I expected. Shot making from Ziegler was a lot better than I thought it would be. And looking at this matchup, of course, that's all this tournament is matchups. I think they handle UCLA. So I'm walking back my statement about Tennessee. I do think they made the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I had the same concerns as you, Tanner. Tennessee, their kind of MO has been the ability to not make a basket. They somehow flipped that switch in the SEC tournament. The guy Ziegler, Chaz Lanier, two of the big scores for the Volunteers. I think that kind of changed my opinion on Tennessee. So give me Tennessee here. Eric, break it down. Sweet 16. Who you got coming out of the Midwest region?
All right, so we got Gonzaga versus Purdue. I'm so high on Gonzaga this year. I think they're underrated in seeding. I think if they can make it past Houston, I think this region is theirs. So give me them to the Elite Eight. And golly, Illinois, Tennessee is just a terrible, terrible 50-50 pick because Rick Barnes is terrible in the tournament. And I don't want to pick Illinois to go to the Elite Eight. So I'm just going to go with the SEC that's gone really heavy this year. They've looked really good. So I'll go with Tennessee and then give me Gonzaga to go to the Final Four. And if I swear to God, Tanner, if you roll with these picks as well, I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, no.
So I had Gonzaga, Clemson.
Jeez.
I am also very high on Gonzaga, and I do have Gonzaga beating Clemson. I had Tennessee versus Texas or Xavier. I think Tennessee beats Texas or Xavier, and I will have Gonzaga versus Tennessee in the Elite Eight. However, I'm an idiot, dumb brain, and I saw Tennessee play Florida real well, so I love Tennessee now. Give me Tennessee to make the Final Four.
Thank God it's not the same. Whew.
Yeah. So I got Houston, Purdue. Give me Houston in that one. Kentucky, Tennessee. Give me Tennessee. Houston, Tennessee, going to be a very low scoring, like 50 to 52. But I got the Cougars here making it to the Final Four. But that matchup, if it happens, could be very interesting. But Eric, I got to say, Gonzaga at 8, making a deep run. I actually love that. Because everyone's saying they're one of the more underrated 8 seed. I think everyone kind of agrees they got underseeded, but no one has been talking about them all year. It would not shock me at all if Gonzaga makes a deep run and ends up in the Final Four, because that's just how college basketball works.
Yep. Yeah. Well, obviously, I hate it. I think Gonzaga will lose first round. Obviously, duh. But yeah, no, I agree more.
Yeah, it's. I think. I mean, we could talk about matchups. I mentioned Houston, Tennessee. That Houston, Gonzaga potentially are 2 I'm looking at. But y'all got any matchups? Y'all are looking at upsets. Talk to me.
Yeah, obviously, this is kind of a region that we both kind of had a little bit of chaos in. An 8 seed in the Final Four over for Eric. I have them in the Elite Eight. Obviously, I'm high on that playing team, and then Texas Xavier going to the Sweet 16. Very well could blow up in my face and just have chalk, But I think there's going to be chaos, and obviously Eric agrees. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for.
Yeah, I do think that that Xavier, Texas, whoever wins that game, I think that'll be a really good game versus Illinois. And then even if that 11 seed makes it through, I think it'll be a really good game against Kentucky. So I think the playing game wasn't a bad pick either way, but something told me to go with the Illini. So we'll just see some of the matchups. And I agree, it's kind of a chaos region, which makes March Madness so much fun.
Oh, absolutely. But we finally arrived to the Final Four. So, Eric, I'll let you break it down first. Give me who you got coming out of the Southwest, East, and Midwest, and who you got in the finals and being crowned Natty champs.
So, out of the South, we got Auburn, number 1 overall seed, played extremely well up until about the last couple games, but I think they bounced back. Out of the West, I got Florida, absolute powerhouse right now. Did they get too hot too quick? We'll see. Out of the East, I got the Duke Blue Devils, get Cooper Flag back. I think they make it out of their region pretty easily. And then Midwest, a little bit upsets here and there. Give me the number 8 seed Gonzaga. And then I got Florida beating Auburn. I have Duke beating Gonzaga, and I have the Florida Gators becoming your 2025 national champions.
Oh, no.
All right.
The graphic is not going to be great, is it?
For my Final Four, coming out of the South, I do have Michigan State. I had them beating Auburn. And out of the West, I have Florida over Texas Tech. So I have the Gators out of that region. In the East, Duke over Wisconsin. I got the Dukies, and then in the Midwest, I do have Tennessee over Gonzaga. So my Final Four match was Michigan State versus Florida. I just have the Gators on that. Too much size, too much shooting. It doesn't matter how you want to play. Florida will gladly do so. And then on the other side of the bracket, I had Duke, Tennessee. And surely enough, I had Duke because why wouldn't I agree with Eric? Duke versus Florida. And who else winning it but the damn Florida Gators, baby?
Oh God, please let us know ball.
So out of the South, I also have Michigan State, West, Florida. Then East, I got Duke. Midwest, I got Houston. I got Florida coming out of the left side of the bracket. And this Duke Houston matchup could be very interesting. I unfortunately think Duke's size is going to play a huge factor in this one. So I got Florida and Duke as well. But I got the Blue Devils here. I've been high on them since the beginning of the season. Cooper Flag is the real deal. But Kai Knippel, Common Mulak, two absolute dogs on that team. I think they're the deepest team, the best team, and I think they will be your 2025.
They have so many guys. They have so many guys on their team.
It's insane.
Was their third or fourth guy off the bench went to the damn national championship last year?
Yeah.
Mason Gillis.
Yeah. It's stupid. The one thing that does concern me is injuries with Duke, but I think they're just so damn good. But it's just crazy how we pick this upset. I have 3 number 1 seeds and a 2 seed.
Yeah,
in my final 4.
I have 2 1s, 2 2s.
It's the
I have 3 1s and an 8. That probably shouldn't be an 8. So, yeah. But I will say, this is the first year in many years that I have had this many number 1 seeds, which could be good, could be bad. But it's definitely been the highest I've been on the 1 seeds in quite some time.
And that's I can't remember the actual stat. It may have been net in the net rate, but it was like throughout like the bracket, there's been like 2 or 3 teams in the past 4 or 5 years to be top 10 in like offensive net, defensive net.
Yeah.
And 3 teams in total in the last 4 years. This year, I think there are 4 teams who are top 10 in both.
Yep.
Yeah. As much chalk as we've seen these teams have been by far and away the best teams throughout the season, and it's not particularly close. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. St. John's, all of us have them losing second round. That could bite us in the ass. The Memphis pick could bite us in the ass. There's a lot that could be ugly. I mean, if Auburn ends up going to Final Four, my bracket's screwed. So it's going to be fun, but I kind of want to get y'all's bracket strategy. We'll talk about that a little bit. Eric, well, I'll start with you. Like, are you one of those guys that just like, I'm sticking with my one bracket? So selection Sunday, the selection show happens. Well, do you immediately fill out? Do you do a little bit of research? How many you filling out? Talk me through your process.
Yeah, so I am not one to do it immediately. I like to let it sink in, kind of look at Twitter, immediately see if someone was probably graded a little bit too high, too low in the seedings. And then I do 5 brackets, 2 family ones and 3 for money. I'll say normally they're relatively the same picks. I would say normally Elite 8, Final Four is normally when I kind of switch up maybe a game or two, like say at Auburn. I pick for this one, and then in a different one I may pick a Michigan State, just because I believe Florida will beat either of those teams. But no, I'm not a person that does like I picked a 5 seed in this, I have to pick the 12 in this. I try to stay as level headed as possible. I don't like to pick a ton of upsets like somebody that's on this podcast, I won't name names, who used to pick a 16 seed every single year.
Hey, it worked out last year. So
I
There you
can
go.
say with 100% certainty there was one person, probably on this earth, who said Fairleigh Dickinson would beat Purdue, and he's right there. He said it from the very start. He did.
Was that because of Purdue like hate a little bit as well, or was that just ball knowledge?
I think Zach
Ball
Edey's a little bit,
Take the ball.
but yeah,
Yeah, it was all ball
All
knowledge. Yeah.
just running.
Yeah. For sure.
And that coach got fired today
Yeah.
from Iona.
From Iona.
Tobin.
Iowa native. RIP.
Oh, new.
Did you not know that? Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah. New head ball coach.
Yeah. Here we
There you
go.
go.
But yeah, Tanner, talk to me about your process.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't fill it out. I don't fill it out the night I similar scroll Twitter, see what if there are any injuries I don't know of, if there are any injury updates. Like I guess now more teams will probably keep that more in house until the bracket's released. So we'll get more injury information, as the night goes on. And then I fill it out my bracket on the Monday. Now I fill out a lot in terms like just crossing teams out, changing things. But once I finally narrow it down, and like obviously today I fill out a lot, changing a lot of things. But once I finalize my bracket, this is the one that I put in all my pools. This is the one that I grade on. I don't change anything once I have it locked. And I shred the other ones; they're gone. So it's sort of a pet peeve of mine when if they're like, oh, I had that upset. Oh, I had it in my other bracket. It's like, well, there are two options. So if you have two brackets, you likely got it right. But that is kind of a pet peeve of mine. But so the other ones are gone and done and dusted. I don't remember them. So this is, if I didn't pick it here, I didn't pick it, period. A lot of versions, but once I lock it in, that's the one I go with.
Yeah. I also think it's absolutely wild if it's released and you fill it out immediately. I like to chew on the bracket a little bit. I do two. One, I just no research, nothing. I just fill it out what the vibes are. And then for the one I do with this show, I do a little more research, what I like. But this one is kind of my main one. Very little variation between the two. Basically, I go back and check out. It's like, is there an actual chance Liberty could be Oregon? That kind of stuff. So that's kind of my thoughts. Next question in regards to your kind of bracket strategy. Have you, in the years past, kind of the mistakes to avoid? Do you follow the trends? Talk to me about that, Eric.
I would say biggest is specifically with my team with Arkansas, try not to be too heavy into pushing them forward, just because obviously that's my goal, or my goal for them is to obviously make it as far as possible, but I have to have some realization of the chances. I think last or 2 years ago I had them losing to Kansas. Now obviously I was ecstatic when they beat them, so try to keep your biases out of it as much as possible. Now, like I said earlier, I'll never pick Missouri, but I also think that Drake is good enough to beat them. So there's levels to it. And then the other thing I would say just really quick is one of my strategies definitely is following lines of I picked Memphis, I guess, from the get-go. Just kind of, I knew that Tyrese Hunter was on their team and was really good, but I know he was hurt. Saw that they were actually not favored. So it's just little things like that you can see if some giant swing line changes. You kind of dive into that if they're missing a player or something like that.
Yeah, totally agree with the lines. But I think one thing for me, man, is just that it's literally in history, there's never been a perfect one.
Yeah.
So I will, if someone thinks something will happen, I will just don't, just because someone else said, because I said I don't like Liberty, don't let that change your opinion. Because if you would have said I like FDU over Purdue, I would have punched you in the face, called you an idiot. If you liked UMBC over Virginia, if you liked Oral Roberts over Ohio State, a few years ago, Ohio State came off a great Big Ten tournament run. They were good that year. I think I forget who they played in the Big Ten championship game. Took them to overtime, punch for punch. I really like that Ohio State team. Then they just lose. Like it's just how it goes. Like nothing makes sense. So just because we said something, someone else said something, doesn't mean your pick's wrong. Just it's crazy things happen in this tournament.
Yeah, I think mistakes to avoid, just stick to your gut, because you might say something, you might say something. We could all be just absolutely wrong. We have no idea what's going on. But that's what makes it the best postseason. Trends, I've kind of said I don't buy too much into conference tournaments, but then I think Auburn's going to lose second round. I think Tennessee's going to make a deep run to the Elite Eight. So maybe I do take into consideration. But another mistake everyone I think should avoid is cheer for the upsets.
Yes.
Never cheer for your brother. Those people are the worst. Oh man, FDU. I had Purdue going to the championship.
Oh man, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Someone we know may or may not be a former host of this podcast. It could be anyone, but it was specifically the Kentucky. Was it Oakland? No, it wasn't last year. Who did they lose to a few years ago? Anyway, in their streak of losing, I think they were a 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah.
North Texas, maybe North Texas. They lose to them. They did, right? I don't know, but they were like a 3 or 4. It was an awesome game. Like North Texas was winning. We were all going crazy. Of course, no one likes Kentucky, and someone we knew had Kentucky in their Final Four, so I was actively rooting for Kentucky. And we're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, that's just the worst.
Give me chaos. Give me
just the worst.
UNI game. Give me just
UNI hitting a half court shot to beat Texas. Like that's awesome.
Give me that.
Was it Oakland?
Oakland was last year, right?
Yeah, Oakland was last year.
I think it was either 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh no, it was Purdue who lost to North Texas. Maybe it was Oakland, which would make it all the crazier because you had a cold ass white boy, which is making everything in sight, and it's so hard not to root for. He's like, go Kentucky.
Yeah.
Nah, miss me with that.
But yeah, that's kind of how I do it. Trends, all that. But y'all ready for some this or that March Madness edition?
Always.
All right, Eric. So this or that, simple. Give you 2 options. Pick one. So first one, dunk of the tournament or game-winning 3?
Game-winning 3. Easy.
Game-winning 3. Game-winning 3. Yeah, it's
Dunk City, Florida Gulf Coast, or UMBC 16 upset?
Wow. Probably UMBC just because there hasn't been that many 16 seeds, but every single time I watch a March Madness highlight tape and I see the Dunk City, I get chills. So I'm going to go with the 16 seed, though. Go for history.
I think I'm going to go with Florida Gulf Coast. That's like you said. I always get chills. That one there was like the one that put it away. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The alley oop that put it away right on Otto Porter's head. It was awesome. Did Florida Gulf Coast win their next game too, or was it they just?
I think
they might have made it to the Sweet 16, which makes it that much more special. Yeah. However, what also gives me chills though is when the shock and awe, the call from the announcer. Yeah, UMBC beats Virginia. Pretty special stuff, but I'm gonna go with Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I'm going UMBC. First time it's ever happened, and it's fun seeing Virginia lose. But moving on, cutting down the Nets tradition or one shiny moment. Montage.
One shining moment. Yeah, that one for sure. I mean, that's what I wait for. If my team's not in the Natty or if it's a blowout or whatever it might be, that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, talk about chills. I mean, just the gets me every time. Tipping the ball right when they say the ball is tipped. It's one shining moment.
Yep, absolutely. Next one, perfect bracket for one day or total chaos by noon on Thursday.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, I mean the perfect bracket's cool just for like a Thursday, but then your Friday's probably F. So let's go total chaos for sure.
Yeah, like it's like I think I had a perfect region a year or two ago, but it was lame because it was all chalk. It was like it was the chalkiest region,
Yeah.
and I thought it would be awesome, but it wasn't. And it's chaos. We
Yeah.
just covered it. Chaos.
Chaos is the best. That's what makes this tournament.
I'll never
the
forget
best.
when Missouri and Duke, who were two seeds, lost on the same day. That was half my Final Four gone, like that, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, we kind of already talked about it, but picking with your heart or your head?
I always pick with my head unless there's always just one bracket where like this year Arkansas's in it. I'm gonna pick them to win the whole thing, just so if that actually happens, I can just be like, haha, I knew the whole time. But I'm picking with my head more times than not.
I'd love to say go with your head, but screw it, man. Everyone picks with their head. They never get it right.
Yeah.
Never get it right. I mean, it's a balance, right? Because if your heart tells you, Alabama State over Auburn, okay, well, that might not be right. But if there's some games in there that you're back and forth, your heart tells you screw it, just go with your heart, because someone on TV who's telling you to go with your head, they're gonna have the same chance at a perfect bracket you do. Zero.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance, but I'm going to say heart. I mean, I picked Liberty to go to the Sweet 16, so I have to, right? So I'm going to do heart here. But any last thoughts on the tournament as a whole? It seems to be a chalky one, but we all know that's not going to be the case because it is March Madness. But give me your final thoughts, Eric.
It's a good one. There's a ton of fun matchups. I think there's opportunity for early upset as well. I think we all picked Michigan State to get to the Elite Eight. Marquette could come out guns a blazing and mess it up. None of us picked St. John's. They could go on a run, but that's what makes March Madness the best because it's college athletes. You never know who will get hot, who's been hot will stay consistent, or has been super slow like Auburn and may go on a run. So I'm so excited for just even the first 4 games to start tomorrow.
No, it's the best. The one thing I would say is, please, for the love of all things that are holy, do not mess with the format. This is perfect. We love it. Yeah, we're arguing over UNC versus versus West Virginia versus Indiana. Did they get it wrong? Probably. You know what they shouldn't do? Add 4 more teams and allow them all in. That would be a disaster. Keep it the way it is, please.
Yeah. You know what they should do? They should be better. They should win more games so you're not even on the bubble. Simple as that. Someone's going to get screwed every year. Whether it's college football playoffs or whether it's March Madness, it is perfect how it is. Perfect.
Yeah, it is. John Rothstein did bring up a idea. He thinks if you are an auto bid, you should not have to play in the first 4, and you should have the on-bubble teams. I want to get y'all's thoughts on that. So, like Alabama State and St. Francis American and Mount St.
The last 4 in play the play-ins.
Would be automatically a 16 or whatever.
So the last 4 in would play the play-ins. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the notion at all. I don't disagree with that at all. I would be curious though. Because I think there is a legitimate school of thought that like the 16s enjoy it because like, hey, we can go in someone at our talent level and we can win a tournament game like that. But I can also see them being screw this. I want to play on Thursday and Friday against the best team. If we get the brakes blown out, if we get the brakes blown off, screw it. We played on Thursday or Friday. I don't know. I would like to hear their thoughts about that, but like I don't disagree with the notion for sure.
It's not a bad idea. I think it also brings into play like, do we really want to see? Because like UNC is not a great team. West Virginia clearly wasn't a great team. Indiana clearly wasn't. Like, do we want to see more average basketball? So it's a tough pull, but just don't add Just don't add more teams.
don't add
That's
more
all I ask. We don't
Please
need.
don't add more teams.
We don't need more West Virginia teams. We don't need more UNC.
Yeah.
More like we just don't need more on the bubble mediocre
And
teams.
we don't need any more possibilities for you to do whatever you can to get bad UNC, bad Duke, bad Kentucky, whatever blue blood in the future has a down year. You're going to do everything you can to get them in. We know how you are. Case in point this year. Don't.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
I think that is a great way to put a bow on March Madness. That's going to wrap it up for episode 161. Of course, you know what we talked about. The greatest postseason in all of sports. The big dance, March Madness. It's here and it's beautiful. We talked about it all. Eric came back on the pod, the most reoccurring guest. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. It's a blast as always. It's become, I believe this is the third or fourth year we've done this. We're going to keep doing it. Hope y'all enjoy it. But you can follow the podcast on Instagram, X, and TikTok at crunchtime_pod. Doing a lot more short videos now, so stay tuned for those. You can also like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Crunch Time with the N326 But the clock has run out on this one, and we'll see you on the next one on Crunch Time.
I'll see you.